Hey.
Hi. How are you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, good.
Tell everybody your name.
I'm Max.
Hey, Max.
Yeah.
And he has an interesting site. It's like so dash stylish, kind of like Daily Booth, but for style. It's interesting. You did a good job.
Thank you.
Cool. What's up?
I have one question. What's your only one advice for a young entrepreneur?
What's my one advice for a young entrepreneur?
One.
My one advice. I mean, my biggest advice for an entrepreneur is if you're truly an entrepreneur, if you're not a wannabe entrepreneur, did you sell something before you were 12 years old? So like that already worries me, right? Like that's like a big question for me with entrepreneurs, but that's sales. So not every entrepreneur is just sales. So I don't necessarily, you're not totally eliminated, but you took a big dent, Max. But you know, that being said, if you're a true entrepreneur, back to that gentleman's point about, you know, I kind of felt his fire, like, you know, it's very, I could never work for somebody else. If you're a true entrepreneur, I firmly believe that everybody in this room and everybody watching on Ustream and 99% of our society spends way too much time trying to be better at the things they're not, right? Oh, I'm not a good, I know entrepreneurs that are trying to learn how to code in Python. Why? You know what I mean? Or like, oh, I need to be better at design, or I need to figure out how to be a better public speaker like you, Gary. Why? My biggest advice to an entrepreneur would be to not apologize, to just be an entrepreneur. If you're a real entrepreneur, then you're more than happy to live in your mom's basement when you're 29 years old. If you're a real entrepreneur, you're more than happy to wear the same sneakers for the rest of your life because you're so obsessed with building your shit. You know, it's so funny, I've gotten a lot of exposure, a lot of TV, and my friends now, you know, Facebook, all your high school friends come out, and everybody's writing on my wall, Gary, you're so lucky you were on Conan O'Brien. Oh, Gary, you're on the Today Show. Oh, Gary, I read how big Wine Library became. You're so lucky. Do you know what I do? I go right back to their wall and say, Tom, I'm not lucky. Tom, let me paint you a picture. You remember senior year of high school and those 4 years in college when you guys used to invite me to go to the Jersey Shore and I said no? It's because I was working every fucking hour. I'm not lucky. You're fucking lucky. You went to the Jersey Shore, you banged some chicks, you drank some beer, life was good. You're lucky. You know, so I would tell you that if you're a real entrepreneur, if you're sitting right now and you're a real entrepreneur, never apologize. Not to your parents, not to society. Execute on who you are. I probably do 99% of the world's deeds poorly. There's about 4 to 6 things I do well, and all I ever do is really focus on that. LeBron didn't try to figure out how to do something different. Tiger Woods wasn't like, well, I suck at this. They fucking focused on what they were good at. If you know what you're naturally good at, execute harder against that. That is no question in my mind your biggest advantage in being successful because it's naturally already in you. Execute against that shit. For sure. Who else? Hey. Hey, how are you?
Is it working? Okay.
You're the guy sitting right there.
Yeah.
How are you?
Fine, and you? I'm Alessio, I'm a journalist and blogger from Italy. I have 3 short questions.
Sure.
First question, should every company on the world, and when I say every, I mean every company in the world, engage with social network? And what is the best case of a social network engaging you so, and what is the worst?
Yeah, so, I mean, listen, nothing is always all in or all out, right? All the good shit happens in the middle. Gray is the best color in this world, you know, not black or white. Do I think so? I think it's the biggest opportunity brands have ever had. For the first time ever, brands don't have to rely on gatekeepers to tell their story. No longer are the Financial Times or the BBC or CNN or Wall Street Journal completely in control of the story that the world is consuming. I think it's an enormous opportunity. I said on GaryVaynerchuk.com the other day, social media is not a necessity, but it's one of the greatest opportunities of all times. So I think yes, but if somebody doesn't want to, or maybe their brand is to be secretive or some restriction, I understand. I just can't wrap my head around why you wouldn't want to engage with the people that actually buy your shit. You know, mainly because you probably don't believe in the shit you're selling, you know, is usually the answer. The best execution of social, I think, is yet to come. I don't think any business has been really built on the foundation of really giving and then learning how to monetize. I think the golden study in the US is Zappos in a lot of ways, but it was much bigger than social media. Their culture was built on customer service, and I believe that's what social really is at the end of the day, a real opportunity to create, context and relationship. So I think Zappos has done a nice job with it. But I'd like to hope that in 5 years, Zappos execution will look like shit. That brands have gone way past that. The worst case is very easy. There's so many bad ones. Any brand or business that you go on their Twitter account right now or their Facebook status update, and 3 of the last 4 messages they've sent out have been selling an appearance or giving you a coupon or telling you about an offer they had, that's shit. So I would say that, all of them.
Gary, can I interrupt for a second?
Fine.
So we have about 2,000 on Ustream, and this is a really big room, by the way. So we probably have half of we probably have 800 here right now. And the next target is Dave Morin of PAF. He's at 220 donations, and we are at 116. You think you can do 100 donations at $10 each from 3,000 people?
Oh, Dave Morin's our next donation?
Yeah, we passed. Ashton Kutcher is just a souvenir now. Thank you.
Louis, cool. I would tell you something, and I mean this. I'm about to say something, and this is where I can get into trouble, I guess. What I just did in matching your donation dollars, I'm kind of upset that I did. I got caught up in the moment. I'm very weird about the whole donation thing.
Oh, no, wait. I thought you were doing that by asking your followers to do it.
Oh, no, I'm personally going to match.
Oh, no, you shouldn't do that.
No, I'm going to, because I like you.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. No, wow, now I'm really glad I brought this up. I'm very weirded out by what's going on in social donations, and I'll tell you why. How many of you, raise your hand, saw what happened when 6 or 7 very big celebrities the other day, Ryan Seacrest, Lady Gaga, Kim Kardashian, died on Twitter until they raised $1 million, and then they would start tweeting again? Raise your hand. How many of you saw that? All right, so when I saw that, I was very confused, because I said to myself, okay, here are multimillionaires, right, who are taking away them pitching shit to their audience and asking their audience to give a collective $1 million. I think it is completely broken how 99% of the shit is going down with donations. I think asking for people to donate without, and listen, by the way, I have no context on what you do, what I do, maybe Kim and Seacrest and those guys. I'd really like to know how much they gave personally. I think it's very difficult to ask a community, and they're being asked so often. And listen, I want to raise, but it's funny, I had somebody hit me up on Twitter.
Don't worry. Take the next question. Don't worry about it.
No, I'm going to
continue. By the way, we have about 5. We're over.
This is
take
important
some
enough
more.
to finish.
No, 5-10 minutes.
That's fine.
Then we pick the winners. So if you want to win a ticket, you can still do it. $10.
I just want to finish on this, and it's not a bad thing. I really think we need to look at
how... We'll have a car then, and we close the web.
Phenomenal. I think we have a really interesting issue brewing with the way we're raising here, and I think it should be looked at, and I think there's a better way to go about doing it than pressuring your fan base into supporting it. And I don't think that that's what you're doing. I really don't. But I didn't like the fact that I feel that I just used a donation to make myself look good, and I've really enjoyed where I've been for the last 3 years, which is somebody called me out a couple years ago and said, you never do any of this stuff, and I told them to meet me at Starbucks in New York City and showed them my tax return. I think too many people are leveraging crisis like Haiti and Chile and donations to make themselves look good, and I think it needs to be looked at. That's all. Thank you. That being said, fuck Dave Morin. Let's donate. Okay.
Yeah, just talk.
Yeah, I'm Pierre Simon. My question is, you're engaging to answer every solicitation you have, but sometimes, I don't know, you might be sick or maybe you want to sleep. How do you manage to stop working sometimes?
So, yes, I do want to answer all my tweets and Facebook messages and emails, but I don't. Not anymore. It's just gotten too big. The math has defeated me. But I think what we don't recognize enough in this space is effort, right? Effort is, when you have relationships with people, I had a flight issue with LeWeb. I tweeted out, Loic did it. He answered me immediately. Now we really know each other and we have a relationship, but that effort meant a lot to me because he didn't need to deal with my bullshit flight issue 3 days before this or a week before this huge conference, but his effort meant a whole lot to me, maybe more than any time he pitched me or anything else, you know what I mean? I think effort is grossly underestimated right now in general. It's not talked about enough. The reason it feels like I answer all of them is because I'm trying, but I don't. And when somebody comes out and says, "Ooh, Gary, you've changed. You think you're a big shot now. 2 years ago, you answered me every time. You haven't answered my last 2 tweets," you know, whatever. Before, usually, I can even get in there and say, "I'm so sorry, it must have just fell through the cracks. Maybe it was bad timing. Maybe the Jets lost by 42 points on Monday Night Football, and I didn't want to talk to anybody in the world." You know, usually 30 to 50 people jump in there, come to my defense because they're like, "No, he answered me an hour ago or 2 days ago." And I think that's what it comes down to, Pierce. I think it's simply effort, and I think you need to try. I think a brand and a business has no excuse because they can scale forever because it's logo. I think personal brands have excuses because they're human beings and they're one person. But I think effort is something that we need to look at more, the value of effort, because that I'm doing it 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 12 hours a day and trying. When I miss a few or have a bad string where I'm missing a few from the same person, the community itself becomes bigger than the individual supporting that effort. Thanks, man.
Hi, Gary. How are you?
I'm well. What's your name?
My name is Ayelet.
Ayelet
with a T.
Ayelet.
Yes.
With a T. Awesome.
Israeli.
How are you?
Good.
You don't know Ayelet?
Of course I do.
Oh, okay.
Blonde to
Yep. How are you?
I'm very well. I have a new media PR agency, and every time I meet with a potential new client, they always ask me, "How do you measure the ROI of social media?" So I would like to hear your response to that.
Yeah, so that was the beginning thesis of how I wanted to write the new book, The Thank You Economy, because I know the problem. Everybody asks that. Here's the problem. The ROI in social media is patience, right? You know, you have to have that DNA to be able to understand the ROI of social media. The problem with businesses as a creature is they don't have it, right? So you've got a fundamental flaw. The way I've answered that question lately has been this. Somebody will look at me pretty aggressively and say, "What's the ROI of social media?" I respond by saying, "What's the ROI of your mother?" Right? So I think anytime you're ever asked what the ROI of social media is, I'd like to debate the ROI of your mom. You know, I'm trying to dissect the ROI of my relationship with my mom. My mom is so obnoxiously responsible for everything I have, it's inconceivable, right? First, she gave birth to me. That was a very substantial first start, right? Second, she's the biggest influence in my life. I not only share DNA with her, I spent every moment of my life from the day I was born till 18 with her because my dad worked his face off even when we came to America and had no money so that my mom could be home with us. She's the greatest mother of all time, period, end of story, no debate. You can tie me with your mom, but you can't beat me. She's that unbelievable, right? So her clout score is 1 billion, right? You know, but what's the ROI of that? Really everything, right? And I think it's a silly question because the word media fucked it up. It did, because they understand how to measure the ROI. Now that being said, I think it's coming. Here's what these companies are waiting for. They're waiting for some establishment that they've trusted in the past, whether it's Nielsen's or McKinley, to give them some fucking bullshit data that they believe in. Once it becomes permanent, that a Facebook friend is worth $3.09 or a Twitter friend's worth 67 cents, they'll justify in their own minds what it is and they'll execute against it. The whole thing is straight horseshit. Anybody who knows how to run a business that doesn't understand the ROI of what having a relationship with the consumer is, that's what social media should be rebranded to. How about relationship with the consumer? That's what it is. If you do not understand what the value, the monetary, financial value of having a relationship with a customer is, then you have no fucking idea what business is about. And so the ROI, you can give them numbers. We'll come up with numbers. Don't worry, Blondie 2.0. We're going to get there. You know that. I know that. Nielsen's is working on it every day. We're going to have some fucking bullshit number. The ROI is greater than that number. I promise you. Because all of us know how much money we've spent with people that we either know, that we were recommended to. You know, this is how we buy things.